Greetings, guys. Chapter 10, Teenagers. The most important stage of any individual's life comes when they have developed the ability to know right from wrong, from both personal examples and society as a whole, and have the foundations upon which to begin to develop their own ideas and a burgeoning freedom by which to take their own actions, for which they can choose to accept or deny responsibility and witness the results. The most difficult job any parent will ever attempt is to raise a teenager. Although the teenage years often seem turbulent, out of sync, foreign, and even chaotic much of the time for parents, it is often a time that is even more troublesome and burdensome for a teenager themselves. Although this can happen at different times for different individuals, all teenagers will experience their first transition period. A transition period is an event or period of time that forces an individual to either assume or deny more responsibility for their own personal lives. Each of us as individuals will experience many of these transition periods throughout our lives, such as graduation, marriage, divorce, the birth of a child, a first job, a promotion, buying a car or a first home, the loss of employment, the loss of personal property, a devastating natural disaster, the loss of a spouse or loved one, and many others. However, the most influential and arguably the most important is the first transition period one will experience as a teenager. This is true for several different reasons. At every other transition period in our lives, we will have practice as to what it means to assume or avoid responsibility for our decisions and the resultant consequences. As adults, we will often think that we have the answers. Many times, adults will know the outcomes they wish to create, and this will directly influence the thoughts and actions we take in certain circumstances. As teenagers, this is simply not true. As teenagers, we are conducting experiments all the time. These experiments are necessary because the outcomes are genuinely not yet known. Furthermore, the theory of responsibility for one's actions has been introduced into the mind of a teenager, but the first real opportunities to actually put this theory into practice are occurring for the first time. Should I stay out past curfew? Should I skip class? Should I really drink that beer just because my friends are drinking? Should I drive too fast because my friends think it's cool? Should I have sex just because she wants to have sex? Do I really look like a movie star when I smoke this cigarette? Or maybe it's a vape now. As adults, it is probably much easier to answer these questions than it was as a teenager. As adults, we presumably have some life experiences that relate directly to each of these situations, and have developed our own personal thoughts. It is probable that we think very differently about these situations as adults than we can remember thinking about them as a teenager. The difficulty in being a teenager is that all of these difficult decisions must be made, and so many more, on almost a daily basis. Yet often, there is such little life experience in relation to so many of the situations that teenagers face, it can be difficult to accurately or even reliably predict the outcomes. It is highly probable during this time that some bad decisions will be made and some very negative consequences will be created. However, the most difficult aspect in being a teenager is the burgeoning search and growing desire to begin to assume responsibility for one's own life, but not yet willing or able to leave the protective confines of the caretakers who have accepted responsibility for them up until this point in their life. However, the desire to take responsibility for one's own life will eventually cause all of us to seek out our own autonomy. This push and pull between these conflicting desires is the cause of much of teenagers' craziness. Alright, that's it. Be good, be kind, do some good things in this world. Take care of each other, make the world a better place. God bless. See you in the next one.